Okay, we are, should I wait a minute until, well, I need confirmation that we are starting so I can officially start. So. We'll do a call to order.
Okay, YouTube is live, just went live,
Okay.
and recording is live.
Okay, do we have Price?
It doesn't look like we have him yet.
It is time to begin. As far as we know, he's gonna attend, correct? Have you heard any differently from?
No, ma'am, I have not.
If I'm whispering, it won't do. You will be calling me back.
I think he'd be calling. I know he's got
His direct number.
his direct numbers and he's got Betty's cell phone and post. So
That should be. Well, 5:01. I can wait another minute.
Oh,
If he doesn't come in by 5:00. Yeah. What do you think? Star, how long should I wait for Price to get in?
We need to start.
We're past time. Yeah. Okay. I don't my gavel. All right. I guess I will call this meeting to order. September 30th meeting. We have a quorum present. Present are Commissioner Starr and Chair Gomez and Commissioner Price, we believe, is on his way. Okay, so the first item of business will be the Pledge of Allegiance. We have a volunteer.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And the next item of business will be approval of previous minutes. I don't have them printed, but did we get them in an email? I believe we do. No, I don't have a printed copy here. But while I pull those up, Commissioner Starr, do you have any?
3 minutes.
Betty's normally pretty good about sending those.
Well, under the documents for tonight, I don't see minutes.
I don't see those.
Commissioner Price said he was having a little technical issue, but he'll be as soon as he can.
Okay, thank you.
Betty,
There they are. There they are.
are they there? You got them? Were they attached to the?
September 10th meeting.
That would be. She said it's September 11th, the minutes of
Well,
meeting.
it's on the document attachment.
That was it from Poe?
Mhm.
Minutes of meeting, here we go.
Commissioner Price is now present.
Okay. Welcome, Price.
Hey, welcome. Thank you.
I hope you're feeling better.
I'm working on it. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Commissioner Price, can you hear us okay?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
No, I can't hear you for some reason. I'm sorry.
Hold on one sec.
I can't hear, well, I guess I can't hear me.
Hear me now?
Okay, I'm
Yes, now I can hear you.
gonna shut this door.
Okay,
so
great.
that's
Yes.
not hallway noise. Okay, so Price, welcome.
Thank you.
Previous minutes, do you have any insertions, deletions, comments, updates, changes?
No, nothing from me.
did it. I'll do it. Take your time. Don't worry, we're not going anywhere. Take your time.
No, I make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from September 10, 2020.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, our scheduled business for this evening, November 3rd, general election and preferential primary runoff for judicial grade candidates. Temporary polling location change orders would be our first item of business. So
So I would assume these are the ones highlighted in dark gold.
The dark-
font
yes.
With the italics.
yes. And we have, oh, good, we have those up on the screen. Betty, thank you. I assume you're the one doing that? Thank you, Betty.
So what is the explanation for these changes?
Okay. Do we have Mr. Poe send that to us? He sent some email.
There is a
All right,
key at the bottom.
If you have individual orders for each polling place that's being temporarily changed for this election. And mainly it's because those locations did not want to open due to COVID.
Okay.
So-
Amanda,
Yes.
this is a lot more than what was previously discussed. Do you know why this increased? Because previously it was only just about a few of these. So this seems like a whole lot more than we were aware of.
I,
Go ahead, Chandra.
I've got, unfortunately, the volume is up all the way on that.
Amanda, could you hear me? Sorry, I don't have a loud voice.
Well, and the insert, is that the carrot, whatever that's called? That is a, when it's just one, is a name change. So number 5,
Okay.
the Community Christian Church of Maumelle, it's a name change.
Correct.
Maple Place Activity Center, it's a name change.
Yeah,
So that's those first two that,
So Amanda, if you could break it down for us, how many of these are just
Normal
name
Walker.
changes versus polling
No.
changes?
okay. let's
the
see.
4 are name changes.
Right, precinct 5. So, okay, 1, 2. I'm sorry, I didn't have it broke down by name
Yeah.
change.
And then it looks like 130 and 131, Wilma J. Walker Civic Center and Mills Middle School.
I just want to make sure we're being really transparent.
Temporary polling changes.
Right.
Mhm.
Correct. Those
I-
are just name changes from the last general election. They have changed their name, but it's the same exact location.
Okay.
Okay.
And then some of the locations we had to change due to the fact that they were going to be a vote center on election day. So we had to move the precincts and assign them to a precinct specific poll. So for example, precincts 29, 30, and 33 normally vote at the Jacksonville Community Center, but we had to reassign them to St. Jude because the community center is a vote center.
Okay.
Okay, that tracks.
So, and that same thing with the location in Sherwood. We had to move precinct 41 to Sylvan Hills Community Church due to the First Christian Church being a vote center now.
Okay.
That tracks.
Okay.
And I did reach out to Brian on this polling site. I'm actually kind of concerned about what our plan would be on having this site open on election day till 7:30 p.m.
which, I'm sorry, which site?
This site that we're sitting in.
Oh, the regional building.
The regional building being open on election day, with so much going on in this building as it is. I mean, it was chaotic than when we had that special runoff election, with just a tiny amount of people in here. And I can't imagine how insane it would be to have this as a vote center on election day during a major election, the most major election, with all that's going on and the social distancing aspect of that, as well as all the canvassing that will be going on, the poll watchers and that, with also having to set up some cameras and video for the streaming, I'm kind of concerned about that. And I don't think we've had that discussion.
No, we do that.
So do we have a plan for how we're going to address that? Because we also have to be here
Mhm.
as the commission. So where is everybody going to be?
We're gonna be,
I can tell you from the technical list, like I said, I don't have anything to do with policy of the decision. I can just quickly tell you what I know,
okay. what
which
do you know?
is all of the absentee is going to be handled in this back area, which will be sectioned off, curtained off, and locked off to obviously the general public. This room, of course, is not being used other than to be the staging area to receive all of the incoming materials on election night. The
So it is
office,
gonna be used after 7:30.
pardon?
So it is gonna be used after.
Yes, ma'am,
7:30.
this room,
Yes.
yes, ma'am. The main office, as my understanding, will be locked off, no general public entry at all. Commission staff, commissioners doing the election business that night. And the way I understand it as well is the voting will be going on in the Jeffrey Hawkins room. Traffic is, routed in and out in limited numbers. I think the majority of the line is going to be outside, pretty much like it always is. And they'll have however many voters they're allowing into the time to complete voting and go out until the polls close at 7:30. And then of course that room will be locked back off again. But at no time and then there will be secured entrances for staff only on this side of the building. So it's my understanding that there won't be any intermingling between the voting public and the staff, other than the people that have to be out there working the election. And that's just the way I understand it right now. Like I said, I don't have any say in that. I'm just letting you know what I know.
So this is my concern. As much as I push for vote centers, and I'm as super excited as I am to have this as being a vote center, I find this to be a logistical nightmare to have this as the vote center on an election, on this election, concern we have security concerns. And I don't know how we're going to navigate that. If we have any kind of disruption, and I know there's been some advisories that have been issued through some federal agencies regarding sites, and it would be this site. How are we going to handle that if we have everything happening in the same site? So you have voters, you have us, you have the staff, you have the workers, and then you have all the materials, the machines and everything coming here. How are we going to protect all of that while
Now,
also running an election?
One thing I did forget to mention that I myself learned about last week is my understanding that there will be security provided for the building. I don't
Security
have
like
any,
Classic County Sheriff?
I
Yes.
just was told armed security would be provided for the building. Okay.
Oh, yes?
Amanda,
Yeah.
could you elaborate on these? I
Um,
mean, I think these concerns are valid.
right. I was told we would have 2 sheriff's deputies at our site throughout early
Only
voting.
two?
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Just two on election
two?
day.
No, throughout the whole 2 weeks.
Two
One will
deputies
be
do early voting. What about election day?
okay. So the 2 weeks of early voting and election day is my understanding that we're supposed to have 2 sheriff's deputies. One will be in the voting area. One will be back in the absentee canvassing area.
So have we drafted a plan if there is some type of disruption to this site, and considering we're also in front of City Hall?
I am not aware of a plan.
What was the rationale for turning this into a vote center?
I have no idea on that one.
I think I can guess.
Brian's training, isn't he?
Yes, he is.
I believe, yes, ma'am.
I believe it's because it was such a popular early vote location
Well, absolutely.
that I think it's kind of like a natural fit for a full-on vote center. If it's already, everyone knows this is early voting. It would track that would carry over since it's already an early vote location.
And I
Yep,
agree.
I
I just don't
agree.
know if we can weigh those two. Can we weigh in the popularity of this location to the logistics of election day site to what has to happen for all the other pieces of those processes to occur that day? That's my concern. We are charged with all these duties, on top of the fact that we have to protect those workers. And canvassing starts at 8:30 that morning for counting all those absentees. And we have over 17,500 absentees currently. And I expect that to grow. So there's a lot of things going to be going on in this office. That's a lot of public traffic that's coming in and out. So I just want to publicly voice my concerns, and I apologize for not bringing it up earlier. It just didn't, just the significance of all of it just did not really occur to me until looking at this. And honestly, not being in person makes it a little bit difficult when you're just not kind of
I agree.
looking around and seeing what's going on in here. So what are your thoughts about that, Commissioner Price?
No, I agree with both of you. I think with this building, or the building you're currently in, being one of the early voting locations, it would just kind of naturally transition onto that list to also be a vote center. I don't think anyone really took into consideration probably the logistics of also having the meetings there and counting all the ballots and having them delivered at the same time. So I think we definitely need to try to balance that. I mean, it's important to have it open and not confuse the voters and not make them feel like they have one less place to vote on election day. But at the same time, we do need to make sure that the workers are protected, the ballots are protected, all the equipment is protected, and that there's a clear separation there between kind of the private and the public spaces. So if that means we need to have a logistical plan, then I think we need to work on that ASAP.
I think we do.
I would just
ahead,
my own
Jody.
2 cents from knowing how we've done previous elections. I think we've done logistically all we can to separate people, and I think that can work. I would say that it might not be a bad idea to request more deputies, that, just increase the presence.
I think that's a
We
great idea,
absolutely
Jody.
need deputies. 2 is not enough.
And can we also have like some barriers or something that we could set up? Just like what they have at the movie theater, like with the little, the little rope barriers or whatnot, so folks know, hey, like this is your area. Please don't cross over here.
Do we have any? The county must own
Or
some
whatever
kind
that
of
needs to be.
access to things like that, I'm sure.
Well, one thing that we are doing is we're creating a barrier to the public during the election night, because we're being moved into a area that we're saying is closed off, but it cannot be.
Oh,
Right.
no, that is true.
You're right.
Well, no, I was thinking like a separation between the voters and then those that were there
thought you
to
were doing like
attend
that.
the meeting.
No, yes, Commissioner Price, yes, what you said is correct. We track that. That's good. Having like roped off areas of, hey, this is the way in, this is the way out.
Mhm.
This is different though. Commissioner Starr's point is a slightly different
Talking
aspect.
about after.
I'm
Talking
talking
about a
about
meeting.
after 7:30 p.m. There's still going to be folks coming in. That is when we start tallying votes. That's when the early votes are loaded, and that's when we're going to start meeting. And that is a public meeting.
Correct, right.
And these buildings will be open.
Can we set a limit on the physical presence and have a webcast for anybody else?
We just want
I mean,
to
there's-
tread.
there's-
We want to tread lightly here.
Sure.
Mhm.
The only thing I might add that might work in our favor is we would have to adhere to the fire code, I imagine.
Absolutely,
So it's like, we need a limit of people we could safely fit in that office. Maybe we could say, because of this is what we're going to try to maintain, and then we will have full access via our YouTube channel. Whatever you decide. I'm just throwing things out there as I'm.
I think some signage as well. I mean, if it's just printed out that, hey, this area is for voters. We're going to have a meeting here starting at 7:30. If you would like it to attend the meeting, it's open to the public, but just letting folks know what are the different areas and what they're being used for. Again, just being, I think, as transparent as possible. I mean, obviously this is an unprecedented situation. We're all trying to figure it out together, right? And I think we just, work with the voters and let them know that these are the areas for voting, and these are the areas where we're going to be having our meeting. And again, just be as transparent as possible. I think we could make it work. I think we could make it work. I mean, I would. Jody, you said you think logistically it's possible?
And this is, again, I may get punched in the face from the people that have to, I would have.
I'm not going to punch you in the face. That's a promise.
What we could possibly do is take a moment for turnaround, but when polls close and we get that room clear, once all the voters have their ring line clear, we could clear the Jeffrey Hawkins of the voting equipment. Because on a normal election, we would have that room available for overflow so the public can attend in
That's where we go.
And we would also provide video for the counting and everything. And that's something that's just a possibility in my mind that would allow us to be in a more normal situation on election night like we would normally be. And it would certainly, they can accommodate 70 people in that room.
Yes.
I like that.
I would probably prefer that.
I
And
would too.
if I remember correctly, we really couldn't get started
Yeah, we're not going to be able to get started at
Yes.
7:30
No.
or 8:30, honestly.
probably not even till closer to 9 or 9:30. So I think that's an excellent idea, Jody.
Okay.
I agree. And I agree also with you, Commissioner Starr, that we wouldn't get started at.
No, that's
We're not
an
mad at you.
excellent
We had a
idea.
problem, you found a solution.
I just don't, I want to make sure that we can maintain distance between folks in the room. We are not preventing media from coming in. You have candidates that are coming, and there's just a lot going on. So
Right.
we want to make sure that we have adequate space.
That would be.
And to me, having the public inside that area is a security risk.
Mhm.
That's also a problem. There's a lot of things in there that's just, and there's personnel files, there's all kinds of things in there. So I don't think it's appropriate to have public meetings in that area anyway. So I think that's an excellent idea. So I'm good with
Go for it.
going forth with that, but I do want us to request, we need to have some type of, we need to have a security plan. And I know I asked about this months and months and months ago regarding election night, but I think as we're getting closer, we need to be very serious about how we're going to approach this. What we're going to do if something does occur, what is our plan? How we're going to contact one another, what is the chain of command that goes up,
Mhm.
if we don't have enough people here to help us, who do we contact after that? We just need to have something in place so that we're protecting the citizens of Pulaski County as well as the workers. So I think that's imperative, and we're getting really close. It's the 30th of September. So
I wholeheartedly agree. I would absolutely entertain a motion to coincide with what you just said.
I think we have to wait till after we do this polling order.
We probably need to do that. That's what we need that.
Amanda, did you have anything else on this polling order location change?
Did you want to go through them individually and then
I
just
think
sign?
so.
Yeah, let's do that. That's a good idea.
So I'm just going in order of how it is on the attachment on the email. So after the long list, we have the order naming new polling location for precinct 54.
Mhm.
And that is due to Calvary Baptist Church no longer being a polling location, nothing to do with COVID, but I believe they're closing down, if I'm not mistaken.
It's on the
But
54 is on our list.
moving, right, precinct 54 is on the list, but they are moving to Glenview Community Center.
But it's on the polling location order. Is what I'm telling you.
There's
So-
no change to Calvary Baptist.
Are you saying there is or there's not a change to Calvary Baptist?
It appears that the polling location order is incorrect. It should be Glenview Community Center for precinct 54.
So Glenview Community Center is precinct 53.
Correct, both
So it
precincts,
should be
It's
53/54.
correct.
Jinx. Okay,
so Calvary Baptist Church is just going bye-bye, and we're going to have Glenview Community Center for both precinct 53 and 54. Is that correct, Amanda?
That is correct.
Okay,
Okay.
great.
Right.
And the correct address is 4800 East 19th Street.
That is correct.
Okay.
okay.
Well, I think we need to go through each one of these then, starting with the first one, and just check that these are right.
Yeah,
If you don't mind, can we just go through each precinct and
Okay.
polling location and just verify?
just double check there's not something else that we
Uh,
didn't see.
Yeah, let's just go through them all from the beginning. So it's like we're starting with Jess Odom Community Center for precincts 1 through 4. No change there.
Well,
1 through
precincts
3.
3.
Oh, 1 through 3. I'm sorry.
because 4 is different.
I need
Correct.
my glasses, I guess. Number 4 is First United Methodist Church. Thank you.
Okay.
Which
So
is
1
actually
through 3 is correct, Amanda. That's Jess Odom Community Center on Edward Drive, Edge Drive in Maumelle, correct?
Correct.
So 4 though is still on Edgewood Drive at 1201. How far is that from
It's across the street.
11? It's across the street.
yeah,
Pretty-
it's across the street.
Yes.
It is. It's directly across the street.
Why? Okay.
That's a very
Why
good
not?
question, Commissioner Starr, and it creates a lot of confusion in Maumelle because I vote at Jess Odom Community Center, and I will tell you from experience, there are voters that will wait in line to vote at Jess Odom and then be told they're supposed to be voting across the street. However, with Jess Odom now being it is going to be a vote center, correct?
Correct.
Then that shouldn't be a problem, but it is still kind of a
Right.
So wait a minute, Jess Odom's a vote center,
Yes.
then
Shouldn't have like a
where are
special
precincts 1, 2, and 3 going?
They
Also
are
Jess
also
Odom.
Jess Odom.
Jess Odom's
There are-
really big. If you haven't been there, it's a large building.
So
Two
where
separate parts of the building.
is two
Early vote
totally
That can
different
be
parts of the
confusing for
building.
voters, though.
Well,
I'm sorry.
That
the
is very
early-
confusing.
Well, no, actually, it's not because there's a front entrance and there's 2 entrances on either side of the building, and traditionally early voting is through one entrance, and then election day voting is through the other entrance. Because that's
I
where
understand that we publish these notices the way they are, and I understand that we have to, but I think that we need to publish a separate document that breaks this information up into categories. That we need to have the regular polling site information. These are regular polling sites with their precinct information and the locations. And then we need to have a second category that lists just the vote centers on election day in those locations. Because if we don't, it's going to be really confusing to voters that are looking at this notice of election.
the vote centers are listed separately on the notice.
I understand
Yes.
that, but
And on the polling location order, they're listed separately at the very bottom.
Yeah.
Yes,
I think we need to explain it better to voters so they understand the difference. What I don't understand is why we have First United Methodist Church open as a polling site if it's across the street. Why did we not merge it?
Because of the amount of voters that vote in precinct 4.
How many voters vote in precinct 4?
I don't know the exact amount. I'm just
It's
going
quite a
to say
few.
around 4,000 or more.
Yeah, it's a lot.
So is there not another location within precinct 4?
I really don't know.
That was further away?
Oh,
That would be something we'd have to look into, but it's been a location for many, many years. I know that.
yeah, decades, I think.
Right.
It just seems kind of inefficient.
I
And it's, I
agree.
mean, it may be something redistricting kind of solves, but yeah.
Well,
Right.
and I will attest, I mean, since I'm from Maumelle, there's really, I don't know of any other locations. I mean, I don't know the boundaries of that precinct off the top of my head, but there's really not, going that direction in Maumelle, there's really not a lot of alternate areas I can think of as far as churches or community centers. But you're right, it is very confusing. In fact, it's not my favorite at all, because it's a problem I've personally encountered many times over the years.
And I believe Commissioner Price has used that as an example, talking about why vote centers.
I
is such a
have.
great idea.
I have.
Idea, because you have these two.
Right
So-
next to one another.
If just Odom is huge, is it not huge enough to encompass precincts 1 through 4? Is that?
But it also has precinct 8 as well. So it's 1, 2, 3, and 8 vote at the Jess
Oh,
Odom
yes.
Convention Center. And then precinct 4 has its own spot at the church.
So precinct 5, Community Christian Church of Maumelle.
And that was a name change, is that correct?
That is correct.
Can we put the legends on each page?
Oh, yeah, like as a footer on each bottom of each page.
Yeah. Have to scroll through the.
Or maybe even have them at the
That's
top.
You may, yeah, it's just you have to go through each one to find it. That is a name change. I'm like, okay,
So that's
that's a name change.
same location, just different name.
And what was the former name? Do we not mark the former name? Or know the former name? I think we used to.
It was St. Nicholas Episcopal Church, I believe.
I thought we used to put the former name on there because people are so used to that former name.
And I don't, because we don't do an order for a name change. We just put it on the polling location order for the election we're going to use it in. So there won't
We
be an
can't
actual.
know-
I'm
We
sorry.
can't note that anywhere, so to make sure that people aren't confused. Just the number one confusion in voting is polling site information. It's, I mean, it's the number one problem.
Mhm.
People don't understand where they go. And the number one complaint is changing in their polling site information. So anything that we can do to try to make it a little bit easier,
I agree with Commissioner Starr. Like, could we not say Community Christian Church of Maumelle parentheses formerly whatever? Could we do that?
Right. I am making a note.
Okay.
to-
Thank you. I'm not trying to like just hand you a bunch of stuff. I just want to make it easier.
No,
Because some people that have been voting forever and ever, they know that name, and that throws them.
Mhm.
Right. I'm just
They don't
taking off.
look at that address. They don't know that address. They know that name.
Correct.
Right.
So 6 and 7, Immaculate Heart of Mary.
Which is what it was previously.
That's 7025 Jasna Gorat Drive. And that's North Little Rock. Hampton Inn Maumelle. What's the
Yep.
asterisk?
That is a new location.
New location. See,
yeah.
Oh, no.
Asterisk.
Asterisk.
Even that, can we put in parentheses new location or something? Just so people know.
Okay.
Yes, I agree with that. That's a good idea. Besides, I mean, having the asterisks with the is good, fine, but having the parentheses would make it easier for the general public to have the information, and it's easier for everybody.
is this a new location or is this replacement?
No, it's a new location.
It's a brand new
It's a
location.
replacement for precinct 9. It was previously a different location.
Okay. Precinct 9 voted with precinct 5 at the Community Christian Church in Maumelle. So we're just separating it out and putting it in a new location.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, and the legend just says permanent polling location change. So with that Hampton Inn being kind of an oddball and being a new location, I think it would be helpful to have in parentheses new location.
Correct.
Because then people don't think that it's like something changed or it used to be somewhere else, or I mean it did used to be somewhere else. It was Community Christian Church, but I think noting that it's new would be helpful.
I think so too.
Mhm.
Even though, yeah, I agree. So Levy Baptist Church.
Levy. I'm kind
Is it Levy or Levy?
Levy.
It is Levy, sorry.
So, and y'all have gone through and looked at all these addresses and
Yes,
triple,
and we've
quadruple
actually,
checked.
we've actually mapped them and they're available on our website. So if you click the location, it will actually open Google Maps and show you the location if
Awesome.
you are, have any questions about where to go.
And I recall, I think Bart physically went to
Yes,
each one,
Bart,
if I recall.
Bart has also done that. More
Bart
than-
is
yeah.
such a rock star.
I'll be doing it on election day
Yeah.
and getting lost.
Nope, use our maps.
Don't get the- yeah.
I'm gonna have a driver.
Oh, okay.
So 17 is, I'll hear you, Amanda. 17
Sorry.
is a name change. So what was the previous change? What was the previous name?
It used to be called Willow House Activity Center. They have,
Okay, and it's in a suite?
well,
It says
that's where,
102.
that's where their mail goes, but
Well, where's the actual location?
the actual location is at 2500 Willow Street.
So I don't
It's
think we
just
need to have it.
Right, they don't vote in the suite. But I'll have to
I
ask
think that
Bart
might
exactly
confuse
where they
people.
vote.
I think that might confuse people. Do we have to have that 102 on there?
We can
If they're
take
not
that
gonna
off.
be voting 102, then we should not have it on there.
Yeah, if we can
I
take it
will-
off, if we're allowed to, can we take it off?
Yes, I will
I
verify.
know I
make
would be
sure.
driving around looking for something that says 102.
Although I'm
I-
hoping that.
I
they
think that
put the
might be a
signs up like they're supposed to,
number
so you
there, I'm not
have
sure.
to use it.
Amanda, I didn't catch that. Would repeat?
I was just saying, I think that might be a room number at the location, but I'm not sure if that's where the voters vote. I will check on that with
Okay.
Bart.
And you're absolutely right, Jody. But one thing I've noticed about Pulaski County, since moving away from Arkansas and coming back, is there's no street lighting in a lot of places, and
Absolutely
it's so hard to see things. And then you have a lot of overgrowth of landscaping in places, and when it gets really dark outside, it's impossible. So anything that we can do. Let's see here. 29 and 30. So what were they previously, Amanda?
They were at the Jacksonville Community Center. It's 29, 30, and 33. So we moved them to St. Jude.
Okay.
Because Jacksonville Community Center is a.
It's a vote center,
Gotcha.
and there's not another area in the place to house both, like at Just Oven.
Has St. Jude ever been a polling site before?
Yes, it has been for many years at Precinct 34.
Okay.
Yeah, I see it's on 30.
Okay.
And the beauty about the vote centers is if somebody went to their old polling location, it's now a vote center, so we got you. We don't have to send you somewhere else. So that's a positive about
Yeah.
the move.
Correct.
It's a new location, but you can still go to the old location because it's a vote center, and
It's a
anyone can go.
it is one positive about this location too, because I can't tell you that people come on election day, we have to say, I'm so sorry. we're
Yeah.
not voting."
It's true.
The double asterisk, does that mean what are the double asterisks?
The double asterisk is a temporary location change, I believe. Let me double check.
Why would that?
Yeah,
That's
it
correct.
is temporary. So
Why would that be temporary versus the permanent change? Did they only agree for this one election?
I'm not sure. I'd have to ask Brian about that, why those are just temporary.
I know one of them has to do with the building is under construction, so they said, we don't want to stop being one, but we can't let you in this time.
Oh,
So
okay.
there are times where they have something going on and they told us, please don't stop using this, but we can't have you this time.
Okay.
So it sits out for a cycle. Okay.
Right, exactly. The art center had done that recently because they're.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
But they're finally done with all their.
Yes.
construction. Yeah.
So Bethel Baptist Church, what was that previously?
That was I believe it was the First Presbyterian Church, and they declined due to COVID.
Okay.
Okay.
And Sylvan Hills Community Church?
That was the location in Sherwood, let me see, the First Christian Church that is now a vote center.
The
So we-
Sherwood Jacket, Evans Senior Center.
No, that is the First Christian Church. Why is that on there? Okay, that needs to be corrected.
The vote center's wrong,
The vote center is wrong.
so it's not
Which one?
Jack Evans Senior Center. What is it?
No. It's supposed to be the first, is it the First Christian Church, Jody in Sherwood?
Yes, yes, and it's
Yeah.
actually directly across the street from Jack Evans, which would help if anybody, even if people, because we've had people that still go to Jack Evans and they're like, oh, there it is.
Do we have that address?
The First Christian Church.
Yeah, I mean, I can Google it. Who gets it first?
Uh,
That's, hold on, I
It's
open
a
up
race.
Gmail instead of. First.
Does this have to be approved tonight?
It, I
We have a
don't
lot of
know.
changes to make.
We do have a lot of changes to make.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if
deadline.
tonight's the deadline or not.
The other list that I had for the vote centers did say First Christian Church of Sherwood, 2803 Keel Avenue. And I believe I pulled that off the ordinance.
I'm sorry, what did you say, Commissioner Price?
I was saying that the previous list I had for the early vote / vote center locations had First Christian Church of Sherwood at 2803 Keel Avenue.
And that is correct. That's what we have on our
Yeah.
website.
So I'm not
Okay.
sure why it's got Jack Stevens on here. Or Jack Evans, I'm sorry.
That was just the name of the previous.
I'm checking all the other ones and they seem to be correct otherwise. It seems like the only one that needs to be updated. Yes. And the list I had pulled from the ordinance.
Mhm.
So this does have to be approved tonight. I'm sorry, I couldn't hear.
What was our deadline? Was tonight the hard deadline we had to have this done by?
Mr. Poe did not inform me that tonight was the deadline, so I'm not sure on that.
Let me see, Secretary of State would have that information. I bet.
Well, this is one of those situations where we need to make changes to approve. And it's not, because we have to approve the temporary and the permanent, we got to approve the temporary, the permanent, and the polling to approve the notice.
Uh-huh.
So we have 4 different approvals. And we can't approve any of them
No. not if we
without
don't
making the
correct.
changes, because these aren't like edits, like minor edits or like major changes. And it's understandable. I mean, there's a lot going on, but we can't approve it because they're actual changes. So we need to,
Okay, the last weekly reminders I got from Hansberry was on August 31st.
let me pull up the election calendar.
I thought we could, the Secretary of State often sends us those
I
deadlines,
have,
recent boundaries. Here you go.
yeah,
It just says, here we got the code section. 60 days prior to the general election, deadline for county first. Deadline for Canberra to change precinct boundaries. Oh, we haven't done that. Deadline for school district to submit the county clerk. Okay, that's not this. Yeah, pull up the calendar.
yeah.
I was just hoping we'd have something from SOS, but I don't see anything in my email.
Amanda, I have a question. Do any of these changes that you're tracking that we've been discussing for the polling location order, and I know some of, I know we're changing that one vote center that's incorrect, Jack Evans Senior Center, and we're going to add parentheses to this or that to kind of just provide clarification. But do any of those changes, do any of those affect the actual orders for naming the new polling locations or for the temporary location change orders that follow on pages, 6 through 19. I mean, can we go ahead and approve those?
Oh, you're talking about the
Yes.
individual.
The individual
orders versus.
Yes, correct.
Yes, you can go ahead and approve those.
Okay. Because I'm looking at them and I don't see that any of the changes we discussed would affect these individual orders.
Correct.
Because these do list, like this was the formerly the location and this is the new location or what have you.
Right.
Well, that's good.
We'll go through each one of those and make sure of that.
Right.
No, sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah, what's the answer?
Yes, the answer is it has to be published 20 days prior to the election date, which I'm assuming since we have early vote, we have to include that in the 20 days. And they were saying that we got to allow also enough time because we wanted it in the physical paper, not just the online version, and they said that takes a couple of days.
Early voting starts on, remind me again,
19th of October.
19th of October.
If
So
it's
20 days before.
prior to election day, that's different than the election date.
Is it?
That's we didn't know the answer to that one. So I'm
Okay, well, if it's
So it's the
early
last
voting,
stage is the third.
that would be-
She sent it to me. I asked her to send me a doc and she sent me a PDF.
Well, if it's for early voting, the 20th day would have been yesterday.
It must be the 3rd of November. I'm assuming because most days
Most things are set by
set by
election
the
day.
actual
Yeah, set by
election
election
day.
day.
Because so many things are variable with early voting.
So I'm gonna double check my math, so. But for November 3rd, and this calendar date. Would be the 14th of October, would be 20 days. I'll double check.
And then pat it a couple of days
19th.
for the physical paper. I suppose.
Early voting, early voting starts on October 19th,
That's
correct,
correct.
Monday, okay. 1, 2. 20 days would be yesterday.
I agree with Commissioner Struggle. I think the date's
It's-
probably more
it's gotta
likely
be-
November the 3rd. That's the actual election day.
We'll have another meeting. This is important, needs to be done. This needs to be right. And there's no reason to rush this. Because quite frankly, if early voting was the deadline, we've already missed it. Right? So if it goes back for, what's it, you have another code section? by
I
chance?
don't, unfortunately, I don't.
It's pulling, I'm just taking it.
Yeah, did you ever get the
It's pulling, it's
calendar?
taking forever.
All right, well, you get the calendar pulled up, I've got the code ready. So,
Okay.
let's,
It's like 180 pages long, so just.
I wanna.
And then every date in here for every single thing.
I mean, I'm gonna say the general election is gonna, it's almost virtually everything I see in the code is counted by the general election. I don't see anything that starts by what are those like?
Let's see.
That's not fine, but I'm not sure.
Deadline for October 16th.
Go back here.
15th.
Okay. 20 days before the election, then election commissioners shall appoint election officials.
October 4th is the deadline for us to change polling sites.
You got that? Got the code section next to it, or is it?
75101.
I'm up there. On a couple pages up. Oh, there you go, point side.
It's 30 days prior to the general election.
There you go.
30 days prior, yeah, the county board election members shall not change their polling site for any precinct less than 30 days before an election, except for the event of an emergency. 20 days out. That's correct, it'd be Sunday, October 4th, would be 30 days prior, which means we have this week to do that. So Friday, do you want to revisit this after we go through everything?
I'm working an event Friday.
Okay. I mean Saturday, I'm available. I'm available anytime. I'm available tomorrow.
We have to do maybe Friday at lunch. No, can't, no. Thursday.
I can do anytime.
I could do Thursday virtually after work, but I can't do in person. So I could do that. Commissioner Price?
What's your week
I
look
could-
like?
I could do Thursday. I'm not available on Friday either.
5:30.
Thursday at 5:30?
Amanda, does that give you enough time?
Yes.
Okay.
I will give all the corrections to Brian for him to do.
He's gonna just love you.
That works. So what do we need to go ahead and do now?
Well, I say let's keep going. So
Okay,
identify everything that needs to change.
okay.
Because it would be unproductive to start again and find more problems, correct?
Sounds good.
Okay, so we're at 29 and 30, is that correct? Is that where we were last? 33, 29, 30, 33?
We got to 36 actually.
So we're on Bethel Baptist, 36. And 2 is temporary polling location change. You know, and do we know specifically why this one was temporary? Was it another COVID related one?
Yes, it is. The previous location, I believe, was the First Presbyterian Church.
Yes.
Sylvan Hills Community Church is 41.
Yes,
That's
and
temporary.
that is a temporary. 41 normally votes at the First Christian Church. That's the vote center now.
Okay.
And will you still tell Brian to put those in parentheses, formerly whatever? I think that would be very helpful. To Commissioner Starr's point, you know, the number one thing that confuses voters is they don't know where they're supposed to go. And if they're used to going to a certain place, they may get confused. So I think just having it noted there for transparency would be helpful. And it's helpful to us too, just to know what was the change.
Okay.
I appreciate that. Thank you for humoring us. I know it'll make this a little more wordy, but I think it will be helpful. And then we won't have to ask you so many questions on the back end.
Okay, fair enough.
And also, while we're doing this, put page numbers, like 1 of 5, I think it's already what, 5 pages?
Okay, 60 is a permanent.
Well, 54, we have the Glenview.
No, 54 is the Glenview. That's
Yeah.
correct.
Okay.
Correct.
60, St. Martin.
Actually, if you could humor me one more time, I'm sorry. If for the locations that are changing due to COVID, can we track that on there somewhere?
I don't really want to call out locations.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, for like at
You
least
know.
maybe internally, I guess we have that list. I could just ask.
We
that.
have that
we know
list.
Okay, great.
I just don't want to. I don't want to look like we're calling them out in a negative way.
No,
Sure,
I'm not
sure.
shaming
I
anybody.
understand.
For,
I
They
meant for
have
just
their reasons.
I meant just for for my internal just.
Yeah, we definitely need to
Certainly just for
maintain a
reference.
list, but yeah,
Mhm.
for sure.
so St. Margaret.
St. Margaret's Episcopal Church. That's permanent.
Yes.
And why did we change?
What was it previously? Thank you.
Changes that she wanted to see if that was
It
what
has
you were
been a
looking
little while. It's changed since the last general, but we have used it in previous elections, including the primary.
Mhm.
And I'll have to look back on what it was before then.
Okay.
It's a tough location to get in.
I
Chenal
believe
Valley
it,
Church. 68. I'm pretty sure that's my precinct.
that precinct was voting at Chenal Valley Church of Christ.
Then maybe I'm 64 then.
So they're moving with
That's still
64 to
pretty
Chenal Valley Baptist.
Okay, so Chenal Valley Church of Christ moved to it's joining with 64 temporarily.
Correct.
I'll have to look
And
that
seven,
up.
the Brady Masonic Lodge for 71.
Right. That's a temporary change due to COVID as well. I believe that one was Pulaski Academy.
Mhm. And is that 74 where they have Pulaski Academy as well? Is that where they're at Asbury, which is right next door? Pretty much. Or, right down the street.
No, it was a church.
for. Agape?
Agape across the
Agape,
street from Asbury? Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Agape was 74 and then 71 was Pulaski Academy.
That tracks.
Yes.
And then,
I
Rooker
forgot my
Library.
list, so I don't have it with me.
oh, that's fine. Rooker Library is a permanent change.
Right. And it's also been permanent for a little while now. It was also the location in the primary. It's just changed since the last general. So we have to notate it.
All right. So no changes to the rest of after that, to the rest of the page. Moving on to the second to last page. 106 and 107. Calvary Baptist.
Correct. And we moved those before the primary as well. They did vote at a fire station, the fire station number 10,
Yeah.
I believe.
Was that the one that was outdoor, semi-outdoors?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. I recall that.
I recall that too. That was the one where it was a little bit chilly. The weather would,
Correct. Because
Okay.
they left the bays open.
Mhm.
So
Great. Thank you.
now we're in an indoor facility in the church.
I like it. St. Peter.
St. Peter for 109 and 112. It was Pulaski Heights Presbyterian. They did decline due to COVID. So we asked St. Peter to open up and they decided to do that for this election.
Right. All right. Ham.
right.
We have a historic Arkansas Museum after that.
Yeah, that's a ham.
What do you call, oh, ham.
HAM.
Hmm.
Don't people use that? Am I the only one that says that?
That's a new one for me
Oh.
too.
That one was the Arkansas Art Center.
Oh.
We moved it to Historic Arkansas Museum a while back. I think it was a location in the primary as well.
I recall that also.
So they are going to be a location until the Art Center contacts us and lets us know we can come back.
Okay. And if I recall, the parking issue, they could park across the street. I know we worked this out. It's the same. You had the same workout from last time. I was concerned with not being parking, but we still have parking available for election day.
I
for
believe
voters.
so.
Is that correct?
I believe so. I can double check with Bart on that one.
I recall it was I think directly across the street. There was a lot that was going to let voters park there while they voted. Okay.
Which goes back to, where are we gonna park on election day?
Anywhere you can.
That's not safe.
Anywhere you want to in the parking lot.
Right. You're referring to when you said where are we gonna park? You mean you yourself? Yes, you'll be able to park right here.
Should be any issue.
Pardon.
There should not be any issue.
Should not be any issue because after 5 o'clock, any county traffic is gone. And that's, like today, you guys can park anywhere you want, any spot. It's
But
close, it's
but
close
if
to
there
the
is an
grocery.
election being held, that's gonna make it kind of difficult.
Well, what we typically do is General Services will rope off our lot because it is a county-owned lot and it is numbered spaces during the workday. So voters can't park there anyway because it's an employee parking lot. So those barriers should remain in place throughout the evening. And of course, we'll remove them when our folks and trucks come in to drop off the stuff. But you will also be allowed
But
in.
it also becomes the whole issue of why it's so hard to go anywhere downtown because you can't park anywhere.
That's true. I've heard that in the almost 8 years that I've worked here, myself included.
That's the hardest thing about voting down here is it's impossible to park down here.
Mhm.
So where do people park down here?
That's a great question.
When you're looking at the vote center model, I mean, where do people park to vote down?
They apparently find some places, but like I said, I wish I knew because I would have the same issue myself. I have to put a cone in my spot when I go out to service locations because when I come back, it's usually somebody's whipped in there. Well,
All right. St. Teresa's.
Santa Teresa.
Okay. Yes, for precinct 125, that was Baseline Academy. That is a very recent one. I believe it was within the last week. They notified us that they would not be open. So we combined them with St. Teresa's, which is also for precinct 103.
Okay.
All right.
And that gives us Arch Street Fire. Looks like 26 or 27, 126 and 127 could be the other.
Correct. And that has also been combined for a little while. It's just new. We have it marked because it's changed since the last general. But
I remember us changing that in the primary as well.
right.
Uh-huh.
It was Ironton Baptist Church, and they
Right.
just declined to be a polling location. The next one is precinct 129. That was Little Rock Fire Department. They are not opening, allowing public to come in right now, so we have moved that to the Little Rock Port Authority.
Okay.
Precincts 130 and 131 are just simply name changes since the last general election.
And we're going to add the formerly.
And we'll
Names
add
on there.
formerly in parentheses, formerly known as.
Formerly known as, yeah. So
Um,
folks know it's not a different location, it's just a different name.
Right.
Thank you.
So that brings us to our 12 vote centers. And
Correct.
besides the vote center number 8, that's First Christian Church of Sherwood,
Right.
Bryce, did you say you already checked these? You went through each one?
I have, yes. Jack Evans Senior Center is the only one that needs to be changed. And it's actually correct on the notice of election, if you flip over
Good.
to that.
Okay.
Yeah, the notice of election has First Christian Church of Sherwood at 2803 Keel Avenue.
Yes.
Excellent.
So
I
just need
did
to-
Hopefully with those changes for tomorrow night, we should be good to go. Okay. Now the temporary polling location order, I guess I could have checked this out. We went, but I didn't. So we got precinct 29. So we're gonna, I guess, put a pen in the polling location order to sign, but the temporary polling location individual orders. 29 St. Jude, new polling location in Jacksonville Community Center. Does that track? Is that correct?
Just a moment.
That matches here, what I have on this list that we just went through. So Jude, 29, precinct 29, St. Jude, formerly Jacksonville Community Center, which we went through already. That appears to be correct. Do you agree with that?
I mean, yeah, I mean, we don't have anything to refer it to, that's why,
We don't have it,
other than the
Well,
knowledge that we were
that
gonna.
we just went through, yeah.
Yeah, well, it's not on this list.
No, it's not. Ah, I see what you're saying. We have to make sure this is updated to do this.
That would be ideal.
It would be ideal. I track that. Okay, so we're gonna do that tomorrow. Well,
Did you follow that, Price, Mr. Price?
I'm sorry,
Wait,
I couldn't hear.
We have the temporary polling location changes.
Mhm.
They state the previous location, but we have no reference of what those previous locations are.
but we will when the polling
Right.
location order gets updated with the formerly and that information.
So we're not looking at anything to compare it to.
Right.
So we need to make sure we have that information to do that. To be thorough.
So we're gonna, I guess.
And I feel like I've mentioned that previously.
What's our official, how do we put this off until tomorrow? The Robert's Rules of Order, or what's the
I mean,
correct
we're
procedure to
just,
do that?
we're just gonna have to add,
That's our business,
we're gonna have to have an emergency meeting tomorrow. That's gonna be on you
Okay,
because of the fact that this is a timely issue.
Do we say
okay,
5:30?
before we close,
5:30 virtually.
I should be able to check, virtually fine, because we're just looking at these.
And someone's gonna have to be here to be able to do the stamps.
Mhm.
Because they'll have that date on there. The date will have to be different. I believe that's October 1st. So that date will need to be reflected. And then, yeah,
I'll be right back here for
Thank you.
anybody that's here.
Good,
I want that, yeah, I can't be here
Gotcha.
tomorrow.
okay. That's fine, we can meet virtually tomorrow. That's-
Yeah,
And Price, you're only available virtually due to your schedule, correct?
yes,
And then
Yes,
Commissioner
virtually.
Price, is that the same with you?
yeah.
Correct.
Schedule.
Yes.
Schedule,
And
okay.
yes, and I'm still fighting my sinus infection, so I
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
don't
stay-
want. I'm gonna stay
keep
home.
Your sinus issues to yourself. We appreciate that.
Just because I'm gonna be at the warehouse all day, are we all virtual? Because I wanna give myself enough time to prepare.
Yes, we're gonna be,
Okay,
just,
so
just for
Zoom meeting.
tomorrow's meeting, we'll be all
Okay,
virtual
I just wanna-
because of
Just don't wanna
everyone's
leave anybody
availability.
hanging.
All
Okay.
virtual.
That'll be fine.
We're gonna try to be in person when we can, but if the majority of us can't be here, we can do it virtually, that's fine. So, you wanna do the new polling location, or we're just gonna wait on on everything for tomorrow? I mean, it's only two. Just two, three. No, just
We can
the-
do the two, we can do the new.
We have two new polling locations, the Hampton Inn, formerly at the Community Christian Church, And then the Glenview Community Center formerly at Calvary Baptist.
Is that the same issue that it's not notated here?
Yeah, probably. Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
so we would have to wait.
So we're gonna do these.
Sorry, Amanda. But it should go fast
Yeah,
tomorrow
it's
because
already
we're
done.
literally already done that.
Yeah.
It is going to be a quick review of the changes, so it shouldn't take long.
Okay, so all the polling locations, we're gonna do that tomorrow at the 5:30 meeting, which I will officially call at the end of the meeting. I'll officially go through that.
Okay.
I'm gonna do it virtually, just for that meeting only. It's gonna be virtually only. Notice of election.
We can approve the notice
Can we not approve the, we can approve the notice, yes or no?
No, it's got all the,
because it
It's
has
still
all
got
that.
the same location.
Yeah, because
Okay.
it has all that information on it.
So that's gonna be tomorrow as well. I asked why the discussion of absentee ballots was on
I
the agenda.
requested it.
Oh, you did? Oh, okay. Then,
And I'm assuming someone has something to give me. Because that was information I requested from Brian.
okay.
So Amanda, do you have something to provide?
The only thing I was told was that Terry was not going to be in attendance tonight, but she did send a letter for me to read.
But you weren't given
I
any
don't-
information? Any
No,
statistics?
no, I was not.
do we need a copy of the letter by any chance, or do y'all have that?
That letter needs to be put up there.
Yeah,
Okay.
put it up, yeah, put it
Brian
up there.
sent an email.
I got a letter
He
at
copied
a minute
Amanda.
before the meeting started. I got an email from Brian.
But do you have the copy of the letter you can put on the screen too?
I think first though, I should
Well,
be
yeah.
transparent of what I actually requested.
Yes, do that. You want me to forward, I mean, I've got this email from Brian. Do I need to forward it to somebody? Forward it to Betty?
I don't know.
Betty, do you have it? Is she saying, yes, she has it? No, I don't need to forward it, or yes, forward it? No, you don't have it. You're shaking your head. I can't track what you're saying.
She's got it.
Forward it to you, yes or no?
Actually, I do have the information. I do
Okay.
have it, so I can give that update.
Okay, good.
I'm gonna send this to Betty anyway, because I cannot track what her head motions before, so if you get it twice, Betty, you have it twice. Good.
Okay,
Oh,
so
hold on just a minute. I think I know why, because it looks like she's frozen now.
I just went ahead and forwarded it.
Let me go let her know that her connection looks
Sure.
like it needs to be reset really quick.
All right, she's got the letter on the shared screen now.
There it is. Okay, it's rather long. Well, I don't know. It's just single space. Go ahead.
but I'll first read what I requested,
Okay,
and
sure.
then I'll read what I received, and then the letter. It would make sense to read.
Yeah, that makes, do it. Okay.
So I sent an email. I didn't copy the commissioners, obviously, for reasons for
Mhm.
FOIA. And asked to provide the following. And I asked for the total number of ballots printed, the total number of ballots destroyed due to error, total number of ballots provided to the county clerk, the total cost of ballots to date, the reimbursements received to date due to error, total number of ballot styles, total number of precincts and splits, total number of polling sites, then the total number of absentee requests received to date, the total number of absentee application rejections to date, reasons for rejections, and required to report to commission, because those rejections are to come to us as we have to determine if that person would be able to actually receive a ballot under the law. And then I will read what I stated in the email for transparency.
Okay.
I said, also, I have yet to receive clarification regarding Mr. Kennedy's statements at the August 21st meeting. I have read a very different account in the media of what was stated on both sides, despite there being a recording. Apparently, no one checks their sources anymore. Therefore, by the September 30th meeting, please request the clerk attends or sends a representative to address the following. This will also need to be added to the agenda. Clarification on the August 21st, 2020 statement summarized. Per statement number 1, the vast majority of applications submitted to date do not have signatures on file. Repeated more than once. Number 2, per statement, goodly, most of them are older voters. ... Obviously, I didn't put the entire statement in there. Number 3, per statement, grandfathered in. Number 4, per statement, do not have signatures on file because they have been voting longer than you or I have been alive. Number 5, also per previous ask, what was used to compare the signatures from the absentee applications? And then I have A through D. A, voter registration application. B, poll books. C, new voter registration application. D, signature captured from the absentee application. 6, if other than A, how many for B, C, or D? Note, I can provide a transcript if necessary for transparency of the meeting. Please be prepared to have the recording from that meeting on hand if needed for reference. And I'm referring to the August 21st meeting, because apparently I've heard so much misinformation about this meeting, but I don't think people actually listen to the meeting. The second note, I will not allow any more disinformation to be purposely spread in my name or behalf of this commission. The integrity of our office will not be used for partisan purposes. Thank you for your assistance on this matter. While the topics may sometimes prove uncomfortable, protecting the integrity of the process, the election, while also protecting the voters is paramount. And then a disclaimer, this was typed from a mobile device. Please excuse my typos. So Brian did respond. And the total number, and this is something that I would like somewhere on our website, because I really want people to get a good idea of how much we print. So the total number of ballots we printed is approximately 92,000. Total number of ballots destroyed due to error is approximately 27,000. Total number of ballots provided to county clerk is 65,570. Now I'm about to ask Amanda a question because I feel like this is not correct. Total cost of ballots to date, unknown. Reimbursements received to date, unknown. Total number of ballot styles, 342. Total number of precincts, 137. And total number of precinct splits is 506. And for the voters out there who didn't understand what that means, it means you have your precinct, and then when you start adding in all your different wards and your school zones, your JPs, that creates those splits.
The precinct splits with what?
When you 506. Total number of polling sites is 117. Total number of absentee requests received to date is 17,797. Total number of absentee applications received to date, so far none that I own that were outright rejected. And then I don't have answers the rest. So my question for Amanda is, we've only printed 92,000 ballots for 254,000 voters. Does that sound right? Did I lose Amanda?
I see her. Amanda, can you still hear us?
I'm sorry, I was on mute.
I did all the time. So did we only print 92,000? So are we only expecting around 28,000 voters on election day for paper?
I did not do the ballot order. Brian does that, so I'm not sure where that number comes from.
That seems really low to me.
Hold on.
Because
I've got
we
here.
can look at the numbers and see how many people vote on election day. And we know how many people vote on election day. So total number of ballots printed can't be just 92,000.
Hold on, I'm trying to find the
Does that
ballot.
Can we
not-
revisit that?
Hold on, just a moment.
I
I'm
feel like
pulling up
that he may think that that's just for absentee,
Yeah, is that absentee or is that total?
because that wouldn't be total.
Hold on just a moment. I'm pulling it up right now.
Thank you. That'd be really low.
Mhm.
It appears for a presidential election, really low.
It should be in the 6 figures.
These pins are correct.
I apologize. I got them out of a new box and I didn't have anything in there. My preference is pilot pins.
Can we
If
not?
I ever reach celebrity status, I will endorse those pins. But I'm not holding
I
my
am
breath.
like too. Enjoy the pilot. I like the G2.
G2,
Could we not order these? These are just crap and
Sure.
hard to write with.
Sure.
I don't know.
Well, I say sure. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Who's our order?
Betty orders.
Is that a
that.
Betty?
Probably a cost thing. Did you find it, Amanda?
All right, I'm scrolling down to the bottom to the grand total. Okay, so for absentee, the ballot order shows 65,570 ballots. For election day, 121,795.
So
Thank you
it's
for
more
those
like,
numbers, Amanda.
so those are two separate numbers, correct?
Correct.
So 121,000, then there's 65,000.
Correct. 121,000 is for election day. The 65,000 was for absentee.
I wonder where the 92,000 came from.
I can't answer
Is
that.
were they ballots still being printed during this time? Have they only printed that many so far? Is that
Maybe.
I'm just
maybe.
reading off the total ballot order that was sent to our printer.
I bet that's what it was. I bet it was the number of ballots that had been printed so far, and there was just a misunderstanding of what the request was.
And there was also 36,000. There's 36,240 that are ordered to send to the vote centers and early vote locations for provisional use.
Okay.
So we're gonna
So
add,
the grand total 223,605.
That's what I was thinking. I was thinking it was the twos. And do we know the cost of that?
That I don't know. I'm not sure what the cost is per ballot face. I believe
Okay.
that's how we're billed. Betty may know that. I think that's what she may have went to look for. I'm not sure.
Mhm. She
is
would-
that what you,
I don't know, but I'm saying she would know because she.
Okay.
all
So
that.
Yeah.
I'll go to
Bill,
the next part. So, the clerk and the representative, I guess, could not make the meeting. However, a letter was sent, I'm assuming in response to my question, which I'm excited to read because I have been waiting on a response for a minute. So I'm going to read the letter addressed to the Election Commission. Just 1 second, please. And this was just sent at 4:45 p.m. today, which is probably why some of you may have seen it. But this is addressed to the Pulaski County Election Commission. And this was sent via email. Honorable Pulaski County Election Commissioners. This letter serves to update you on the status of absentee ballot requests to date. 4 years ago, the clerk's office sent 7,784 absentee ballots to registered Pulaski County voters. We surpassed that number 6 weeks ago. As of the close of business yesterday, September 29, 17,906 Pulaski County voters are in absentee status for the 2020 general election. I'm fortunate to be surrounded by professional staff having significant experience in the voter registration absentee process. I'm also blessed by my staff's ability and knowledge to efficiently process and verify applications by the book. So how does verification work? When applications for absentee ballots are received, my staff compares the information available in the statewide voter database, including signatures, to the information and signature on the application. From time to time, the statewide voter database does not contain signature information. In these instances, we refer to poll books from previous elections. If a match can't be found, the applicant is not provided an absentee ballot. Instead, we notify the applicant of the rejection and allow him or her to resubmit the request with valid information. 431 absentee applications for this election did not contain signatures in the statewide voter database. 415 of those applications were verified using the county's voter registration records. After completing the verification process, the signatures on 16 applications could not be verified. Those applicants were contacted in the most efficient means available and sent written notifications along with a new Arkansas voter registration application. So far, 7 voters have responded, and we have been able to place those voters in absentee status and mail out their ballots. We have 8 outstanding applicants who have yet to respond. One of this group has recently passed away, therefore leaving us with 7 applications that have not been put into absentee status due to the inability to confirm signatures. The voter registration deadline is October 5th for new Arkansas voters and October 30th for existing Arkansas voters new to Pulaski County, and the absentee application deadline is October 27th. So these citizens still have time under law to provide the required documentation. If not, the citizen will not be sent an absentee ballot. Please note that these numbers change as we receive new applications or receive requested supporting documentation. We receive hundreds of applications and voter correspondence daily. As you can see from the numbers above, most absentee applications have been verified by comparison to the statewide database or county voter registration records. This has been a testament to the diligent work the clerk staff does every day in verifying and updating voter registration records. I provide this information to help Pulaski County voters understand the process, and I look forward to working with you to ensure a safe and fair election. Sincerely, Terry Hollingsworth. So I requested this information because of the statements that were made by a representative of the clerk's office that caused great alarm in missing signatures. Not because I was concerned about voters getting absentee ballots, because I was concerned that voters didn't have registration on file. I think a lot of people forget that I used to manage that office for a long time and had very, very intimate knowledge of that office and how that office was being managed from a different clerk. So I'll just leave it at that. But I do have concerns over voter registration files not being available for other reasons. And the reason that is because the statements that was made by the representative of the clerk's office. It's why I kept questioning over and over and over again, because I was absolutely astonished by the statements that he was making. It sounded almost unbelievable to me when he kept repeating the same thing over and over again, that he did not have the signatures, and then asking me basically just to dismiss it because they were older. To me, that sounded just insane and honestly wrong. Just because they're older does not mean their registration does not matter. And I don't think that was his intent. I just don't think he understood what he was relaying. But my concern again is when you have that voter registration application, that is the permanent record. The law is incredibly clear. There's no gray area. There is not an exception. There is not it's not silent on anything else that you can look at. And I do understand the Secretary of State's office has been given advice. inconsistently, maybe over years to different counties. But I do know that they have been telling counties that they can use other means to verify signatures. However, the law does not allow for it. So that's kind of a problem, and which is why I mentioned during that meeting as a strict, letter of the law person to prevent any groups from coming into challenging absentee ballots, because that's why you want to go by the letter of the law, to prevent that issue. That's why I kept challenging them to reach out to the voters and have them do another voter registration application. And the representative was like, no, we're good, we're gonna ballot. Like, that doesn't make sense. Have them come in, do another voter, to me, if you lose their voter registration, you need to fix it. If you erred, and I don't mean you as in the clerk now, I mean, if somebody at some time erred and lost somebody's registration, they need to remedy the situation and correct it for the voter. No matter what certain news people or bloggers are saying, this is not about voter suppression. It's absolutely insane to me that someone even mentioned something, and it's upsetting. This is about protecting the voter and making sure the voter has their registration on file, that they're protected, that is them that's being represented, and that someone doesn't do something, which is rare, by the way, on behalf of them. Now, the other issue is, why do we not look at poll books as proof of signature? And I'll explain it to you. We don't look at poll books because we've had instances in the past, and thank goodness voter ID has helped us. But we've had sons come in and voting for fathers. When you have people that have the exact same name, one's a junior, one's a senior, and we used to get these phone calls because they would call because they had come in early voting and they already voted, and they try to vote a second time, and they claim, well, that's my father or that's my son. But then we would have them turn around on election day and sign a poll book. Now that's a problem because we don't know which one is which. We don't know if that was the son or the father, but we do have a double vote between one or the other because we had one early voting and we had one election day. This happened a few times. I did 17 elections. That's an issue because if you're referring back to a poll book for a signature match, you have no idea if you're looking at the original voter or if you're looking at their relative, which is what was very helpful with voter ID because you stop that. So that's why we don't use poll books as verification. The voter registration application is the verification. I don't want challenges to our absentee process on election day. And if we do not follow the letter of the law, that's going to create groups coming in and challenging our processes. So I appreciate the information. I wish we would have received it sooner. I appreciate the clarification. And I would hope that we continue down this path of looking at that. And that law definitely needs to be cleaned up because there's a lot of laws that need to be cleaned up, but that is one. We don't have a cure period. Obviously needs to be addressed. But again, we can't change the rules in the middle of the game.
Nope.
And that right there is a huge problem. And when we're looking at, it's honestly, I'm exhausted. I don't know about y'all, but I'm exhausted. I'm exhausted because all three of us are working hard. The staff is working hard. We have other jobs. We have duties. We are here because we care. We all care very deeply about what we're doing. And others are accusing us of having some type of partisan idea, some type of, agenda. And it's just ridiculous. And at the end of the day, we all have the same goal. And that's to ensure that the eligible voters get to vote and their votes counted, period. And what we don't need is disruption in that process. We don't need disruption by frivolous lawsuits. We don't need disruption by lawsuits that are going to delay the process. And we do not need disruption with lawsuits where judges are coming in and changing what our process is in the middle. If you want to change the law, you go through the process of changing the law the proper way. That right there is a disenfranchisement to other voters who are doing it correctly. I don't like how some of the law is written. I would like to change it. We will do that, but we can't do it in the middle of an election. We also have to be careful not to disenfranchise our military voters. And that will happen if some of these things get through.
And I want to point out, we are in the middle of an election. To echo your point, it's not just the general, it's the runoff for our judicial nonpartisan races.
Yes.
So we are indeed in the middle of an election. You cannot change the rules in the middle of an election. We can't do it.
No.
And there's precedent for that, all the way up to, local court to the circuit, to the federal circuit court. You cannot change the rules in the middle of an election, and we are in the middle. You have our judicial candidates, and if we're changing the rules on them, of our future judges, we're going to change rules on them in the middle of an election. We're not going to do that. So we're not making those changes. But I wanted to echo that point that it's we have the general election, yes, but it's the general and the runoff for our nonpartisan judicial races.
Absolutely.
So I
And
wanted to echo
I
that
don't
point.
think anyone is doing anything with an ill intent.
Mm-mm.
I just think we're all trying extra hard to be extra transparent, to have our processes extra transparent, to show that we are doing everything we can to make people feel safe about voting in person, to feel safe about voting absentee, that they can do all these things. And honestly, when others get out there and they say things like, well, you can't trust voting absentee now, they're not going to count your vote. You are actually suppressing your own voters.
Mhm.
And that is absolutely absurd to me. And it needs to stop right now. But moreover, with the environment that we're in today, everything is very, very inflammatory. And it really concerns me that we really need to be careful with our words. We need to be cognizant of what we're saying. We need to be careful what we're saying. We need to be careful what we're doing. We need to be just, and especially with media, and what they're repeating and what they're posting and the stories they're sharing with possibly not necessarily gathering information accurately at the beginning from the right source. This is just a very different time, and we need to make sure that we are careful in everything that we're doing. And I just want to make sure that that's understood. But I do appreciate the letter. I do want us to make sure that we continue to follow the processes the correct way, and I do not want disruption. And thank you, Brian, for getting that information to me.
I want to go on the record with the only motive I have is to ensure election integrity. That's it. That's it. I want to have fair, honest, transparent, reliable elections that are the extent of my motive.
Commissioner Price, did you have anything?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that? I couldn't quite hear you.
Did you have anything?
Well, yeah, actually, so this is my first time, obviously, hearing of your request from Clerk Hollingsworth, since we don't interact with one another, and reading this letter was very helpful. I just wanted to, well, first, thank you for requesting clarification and making sure that our process and when we work in conjunction with the clerk's office is as transparent as possible. I just wanted to make sure that, does this letter address all of the questions that you had, Commissioner Starr?
It does address the questions. I really wish that this would have been addressed sooner.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really appreciate being painted as incorrectly in the media in a Times article. I didn't think that was appropriate. I don't know if it was me being painted that way, if it was another, if the party was being painted away, but I was lumped into it. And the thing is it's kind of, it is kind of like this. It was like, it's almost like you're watching a car wreck happen and everybody's watching it. There was like five cars have a wreck and you see it and everybody sees it and you're all watching it and you go home and you're like, wow, that just happened. And then the next day you're like, okay, that happened, but no one's going to talk to me about it. Is insurance people going to call me? And nothing happened. And you wait and you wait and you wait. And then a week later you get accused of being the cause of the car wreck. And you're like, what the heck happened here? And that's how I felt when I read that article in the Times where the clerk accused us of pressing voters. And it was really disheartening to me with all that I have put into for the past decade and my service to Pulaski County as well. It was very disheartening to me to see that because that is not at all what happened. And my concerns have been very heartfelt, and they go way back to early spring, actually before spring, when I was requesting that we get out voter education, that we ensure that we do not have these issues, because I am worried that with an increase in absentee ballots, that we're going to have an increase in rejections because people are not used to voting absentee. And I do not want to have those same issues where they put the date down wrong, where, they don't do their signatures right, where they put the address in the wrong place. I mean, that was way back in, and I was requesting information back in February from Brian, and then in April and in March and April. So it was just really upsetting to me to be lumped in such a category. And one thing, everything's become so polarized, and we are a bipartisan commission. And while we all have our feelings and our ideas and our whatever, nothing is right and left. There are 150 shades of the two-party system, and we have got to get away from this hatred and this divisiveness in this country. And we do not need it in this election commission. We do not need it in our county government, and we do not need to be, trying to fight one another on these issues. So if there was a genuine concern regarding that evening, I wish somebody would have come to me and asked me. And that
we have open meetings, people can do that.
And that was what was really upsetting to me, is I'm not a person with an agenda. I never have been. People who know me know that. So that was upsetting. And the letter did help. There are two things that are missing in there, and that is that if they reject, there's a piece that we play, Commissioner Cross. There's a reason I kept asking for that information. For one, so we could be prepared. Because there's a correlation between two things. There's a correlation between the number of poll workers that say, I'm not coming to work, and the number of absentee ballots that go up, the request. So I'm a data person. I like to look ahead and think of how can I have a plan in place to prevent X? And also what happens if COVID gets higher and then people don't come to work? So to me, there's this other piece that I'm looking at, this puzzle. Then you also have this other side to it where the law states that if there's rejections, we have the right to review those and determine that, yes, they can get a ballot. But we're not being told about any. So when there's 10, 15, 20,000 absentee requests, you should have a pretty significant number that's not getting ballots. Not a 99.97% rate of everybody got them. That's just not, that's unheard of. So that just caused alarms, and it's like we're not getting anything to look at to say, yes, give them a ballot, give them an application, do this. So we were just left out of the process. So I just want to make sure that from here on out that everybody's communicating, that we're working together, And we're doing it for the citizens of Pulaski County.
No, I agree. And I want to reiterate to those who are listening, I do appreciate all the work that all the commissioners and staff have done. Like you said, Commissioner Starr, you know, we all have our full-time jobs as well, and we are all dedicated to making sure we have a safe and fair and transparent election here in Pulaski County, especially during this, you know, unprecedented election. It's a presidential election. We've got COVID-19. We've got like you said, this very polarized political atmosphere right now. And I know that you are both doing your best to make sure that we have that safe and fair election, just like we all are. And I really do appreciate you both and the work that you've put into it. So thank you for everything you've said. And you're completely right. There's a lot of misinformation out there. I honestly have not read the Arkansas Times article that you were referring to. I'll look that up later. I mean, just on Facebook, you know, I've had people refer me to different posts and tag me and say, hey, this post is going around that you can drop off your absentee ballots at any of these vote center locations.
Yes.
And I'm like, no, that's no. Like, where did you get that from?
Don't do that.
Or
No.
they say that, hey, if you vote absentee, or if you filled out an absentee application, and now you feel like you want to vote in person, you have to take that ballot up to the polling location and trade the two. I'm like, no, that's not correct either. You know, stick with your plan. So you're right. It is an uphill battle, and there's a lot of misinformation out there. And, you know, we live in a time of social media, and people can just kind of say whatever they want to say and not fact check. And then it just circulates and gets shared and gets reposted. But all we can do is just keep being as transparent as we can, educating the voters, put the correct information out there, and hope for the best. And we've all been doing that. And so I do appreciate both of your work and the work of all the staff in making sure we have a safe and fair and transparent election, and we're putting out the correct information.
Thank you, Commissioner Price. I appreciate
You're very
that.
welcome.
I echo that wholeheartedly.
And one thing I've been doing too is I have been getting on those blogs and I have been responding to questions. I see people like, you know, well, when is this? Or, oh, I heard we can't get our ballot till then. I'm like, actually, you're going to get your ballot on this date. It's already been printed. It's coming right now. There's a certain time you call the voters are first in line.
Yep.
But you can check this website. I've also seen a lot of posts on things like they cannot, you have to wear a mask. And I'm like, actually, you don't. We strongly recommend you do. And then I've seen people say that they can't require you to remove your mask for your ID. And I'm like, absolutely, actually, that's incorrect. So there's so much bad information going around. It's like the more that we can try to respond in a positive way to anything that we see is, you know, it's not passive aggressive. It's not trying to one up each other. It's just simply just like, hey, here's some information. And most people have been pretty appreciative about it. So even if it may be on the site, I may not agree with everyone on certain things. I've tried my best to get on all the different sites and talk to people and answer questions. And if I see something that's just like completely false, try to give them the correct information and point them to the correct information. So, and I know you've done that as well, Commissioner Price. I do appreciate that, but I think we all need to be doing that throughout this duration, because there's just so much. And I think we also need to put something on the front of our website too, maybe, and I'll print another graphic, but on the kind of the, yes, you know, you don't have to wear a mask, but if you are wearing a mask and you're showing your ID, but no, the poll worker cannot take your ID from you. You're just simply showing it. So there's all these little kind of variances that we need to make sure that voters know what their rights are.
Definitely.
It's just really important to
FAQ.
get.
I think an FAQ would be great. And, you know, that's
Yes.
something I'm sure we're all been getting questions individually. We can compile that information and create kind of that FAQ. And I know Brian has been working on something to that respect as well. I also, you know, just my final thought on this letter, again, my first time seeing it. I just want to thank the clerk's office for providing this. I think this is a lot of great information. And I also, I gave shout outs to our staff. I want to give shout out to their staff too for compiling all this information and for their dedication to making sure we have a safe and transparent election. I know they're compiling a lot of data. So I do want to thank the clerk and her staff for this letter and for their transparency and for all their hard work in compiling this information for us.
Absolutely agree.
100%. Just this week, and are we finally Wednesday? It's been a long week
It
already.
has.
Just in the last, really, yesterday and today, I have sent 10 people to go look up their information on VoterView. I've talked to folks about someone who's moving, and they're really concerned that they moved last month, and I said, but you're still in Pulaski County, you're good. You got plenty, go do it right now, so it's done, but you've got plenty of time. If the person who was, they were really concerned about it, and I said, if you have problems, get back to me, and I can walk you through the process. I heard something a little disconcerting this last week, and this was a report involving census workers. Now this is third, fourth hand, like this is just someone told me because someone told them the situation. So I can't personally verify it, but this account was told to me that allegedly census workers were going around Little Rock and told somebody that they were verifying their addresses so they would be sent a ballot. That everyone in that neighborhood is going to be getting an absentee ballot. And I said, well, that's not, Arkansas is not a state that has mandatory mail-in voting. So perhaps you maybe have a census worker typically from the locale they live. I said, it's possible there was a census worker from out of state or didn't know the law.
And that's very possible
It is
because
possible,
there's so much confusion between, a lot of, there's just so much misinformation. And I literally was about to create a whole FAQ on signature checking across states because it's incredibly common.
It is.
It's,
And I think there's an Ohio case
it's
that
just
was
so
just
much.
this last week that was just settled and about signatures.
Yeah, and there's just so many different things that it's just the era of misinformation. But Arkansas has done a really good job of, Arkansas has a pretty negative history. We have some fun books out there about our bad history, and so legislators have really done a good job on going in and cleaning up a lot of laws to make sure that we have really good checks and balances in place. And I think Arkansas has done a fantastic job on having those checks and balances in place. And that's why I want voters to feel very confident and that they can come in and they can vote in multiple ways in Pulaski County and feel good about what they're doing and that their vote is protected, their vote is secure, and eligible votes will count.
Yes.
So, and that's just very important to me. So I want that message to be clear from all of us. And I want this scare stuff to go away. And I want people to feel good and I want them to vote. So that is our vote. That is my message. Vote. Whatever way you choose, vote. But do not bring an absentee ballot to a polling site.
No.
That is all I have. And thank you so much, Clerk Collinsworth, for your letter. I do very much appreciate it. And I do look forward to working with you on the rest of this election. And I know we have some ideas of trying to make this process easier as we're going into election night. And if we could have maybe get together on some of those ideas, it might be helpful. So to try to make it less cumbersome. That's all I have. Thank you so much. Thanks for
I wholeheartedly
entertaining me.
endorse that and would like to echo my thoughts of continuing our working relationship with the clerk's office and all the hardworking people in that office. And there are many of which are unsung heroes and only get, just like this commission, but there's something bad, you get the finger pointed, but there's not a lot of praise for the good. And there's a lot of good out of those workers that are working day in, day out.
Yeah.
So absolutely everything that was said by Commissioner Starr and Price, I endorse. The Ohio case that I read that came out a couple days ago, if anyone's interested, talk about it's about signature verification, about absentee ballots. It's League of Women Voters of Ohio v. Frank LaRose, who is the Secretary of State in there, and it's out of the Southern District of Ohio, Eastern District Division in the United States District Court. And I guess I gave you the case caption, but you should be able to find it.
Yeah, I read it. I should read that.
But that's an interesting read.
It is very interesting.
There are a couple similarities to current litigation here in Arkansas. Just as anyone who is interested in election law issues, that's a bedtime read for you. Okay, so did we exhaust our discussion of absentee ballots?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
The other item of business I asked you to put on the agenda was the Kevin Lilly v. Pulaski County Election Commission. I was served, and I assume the other two commissioners got served as well as named parties.
No.
No,
I did not. No.
Well, I went ahead and sent it to.
Just like you.
Yay! I think you found me. The process server was just, if he's listening or out there, he was pleasant. He was very nice. And I'm happy to, I was surprised by being served at, in the evening when not at a place where I was planning on running into anybody. However, he really was pleasant, and the process server that they used, if I need, I liked it. It was an enjoyable time. We had a nice chat. So apparently, just in a nutshell, Mr. Lilly, we have, you know what? I didn't bring it with me because I just
Well,
assumed.
he's not in the district. that he's
Yeah,
running
so we have a Jacksonville race, and apparently the candidate lives in Cabot, which is not Jacksonville. And the candidate withdrew, and then his opponent is enjoying the counting of, because his name is on the ballot, but we're asked us not to count. And I believe last I looked, his attorney joined and said, yes, we should count those. So, I mean, it's not, there's not a big controversy in that. And when I got it, I went ahead and sent a copy to Brian Poe. I also copied Larry Jegley, who by statute would be our counsel, and I copied Mr. Adam Fogelman with the county, and said, here, I'll read you the email I sent. Go back here. This evening, I'll serve with the summons for lawsuit, Kevin Lilly, Pulaski County Election Commission, 6 CV 20-5173. I'll just read my email. It says, looks like a petition for a declaratory judgment was filed September 16th. And then I mentioned if you can't find a court connect, I can copy what and send it out to you. And I asked Mr. Coe to notify the prosecuting attorney and the county attorney of the filed lawsuit and keep me informed and copied on all correspondence. And then I asked him to please inform the other election commissioners as to the status of this matter. So were you informed?
Yes.
Okay, good. Mr. Fogelman responded and said, let this email serve as confirmation of receipt of your email. And he said yesterday, Mr. Ogle's attorney for plaintiff emailed Mr. Fogelman a file marked copy of the defendant's answer, admitting the facts alleged in the complaint as true and joining the plaintiff's prayer for relief. So all parties are in agreement. The guy in Jacksonville doesn't live in Jackson, the candidate that has filed. And then Mr. Fogelman said he's going to file an answer for the board, and he says he will ensure that all commissioners and Mr. Coe receive a copy of the answer and any correspondence or orders. And since I didn't get a copy of that, I assume that's not done yet. And then Mr. Jegley mentioned that he was going to visit with Mr. Fogelman about that.
Okay.
And since by statute Mr. Jegley would be who would be representing us, that tracks. So that's the extent of information I have besides the actual what was in Court Connect. Something interesting is I believe he withdrew his candidacy. I was going to verify this. We had certified. I think we could have taken him off I was gonna request that if he had withdrawn prior to our certifying the, and printed our ballots, he could have been taken off, and I was gonna double check the process for that, because there was a file marked copy from the clerk's office, but I don't recall getting that information from the clerk's office like I did, or like we did for that other person, the Lance Allen, the Lancey candidate withdrawal that we got. Let's see, that looks like it was sent from Mr. Harrison at the clerk's office, sent it to Brian. And Mr. Coe forwarded it to us on September 22nd. I want to say he withdrew in August. If I don't have it in front of me, so I might be misquoting the day, but when I looked at that, I thought to myself, well, that's odd. If he withdrew before we even had him on our ballots to be printed, why did we not get that information? I thought that was interesting. However, Mr. Coe is not here, so I cannot ask him that question. I was going to ask him that. Perhaps maybe tomorrow we'll see him.
I mean,
We
Amanda could
never know.
pass that on, because I had another question about that. There's another candidate. There was a letter. I guess there was a news organization that was looking into a candidate that put his voter registration as 2801 South University, which everybody knows that's UALR.
Ah,
And that is not his voter address. And
is that his mailing address? Does he have a-
No.
Does he live there?
no, he's not even a student. So, and I forget if this is for a school zone or for a Little Rock City Director position. I forget which one it was. I know his name is Chris. I just remember that. But I saw the correspondence going back, reading a blog, and then there was Larry Jegley and the clerk. There's a letter that she sent to Larry Jegley saying this person is not in the district
Mhm.
after all, and wants them removed from the ballot, but we haven't received any correspondence.
None.
So that was another one I had a question on. So because it's just kind of stopped. I don't know what's going on with that. But if we could, Amanda, if you could get information, I cannot think of his last name, but I know his first name is Chris. It's either a Little Rock position or a school zone position. And there is an issue with him not being in that,
District or zone.
yeah, in that zone, district, or ward. So that was also contested. And it was, I think the Blue Hawk report is the one that discovered the issue. And then there was a back and forth, and then there was an official letter, because they posted a letter that was sent to the prosecuting attorney's office. So I saw it on Twitter.
And no one felt the need to include the elections.
But we haven't received any of that information yet. So I don't know what the status is, and if we're going to be getting something that says to not count that person as well. But we're getting kind of close. So
Yeah.
Have you heard anything, Commissioner Price, on that?
Chris Kingsby
Maybe.
for Little Rock School Board Zone 6, maybe? I don't want to say anybody's name, but there may be more Chris's on here. But you said school zone. I'm looking
It's on their main page.
at our ballot draw position list just to see what can.
I
I
mean,
see a Chris Kingsby running for Little Rock School Board.
it'd be pretty easy to find.
I have not, Commissioner Starr. I haven't heard anything to that respect.
It was pretty interesting, actually.
That's the only Chris I see. This isn't.
Let's see the law. Okay, that's a different lawsuit.
My apologies if that is not.
Lots of lawsuits going on right now. Let's see here.
Is this from 9-3, possibly?
It's been a
Zone
few-
6 candidate Chris Kingsby,
That's it. Yep.
using 2801 South University Avenue as the main address for the University of Arkansas.
Yeah. I don't think it's been updated to date. But there is a story on that website. And then there's a link to, there's a link to the letter,
Well, Mr. Campbell and I had the same first thought. I thought maybe he was student there.
but even 2801 is the business address.
Mhm.
But then I think there was a mistake on the registration. There's just a whole lot of information in it. But the point is that it's kind of such a weird situation when there's, you know, as a commission, we just get what we receive. We make sure that it's the person's name matches what they put there, and that we can't verify
No.
anything. So it is what it is, but we just want to make sure that if we're not supposed to be counting anything, that we kind of have some.
We're a necessary party for litigation.
Well,
So
yeah,
if
we
there's
get
a
sued.
file of litigation, we have to be there. We are an absolute necessary party, just like the clerk's office would be in this instance.
Yes.
It sounds like the clerk's was looped in, but not. the collective
Yeah,
committee.
it's very odd. So, Amanda, if you
Bizarre.
could get an update on that, to see where that is, or ask Brian to get an update from the clerk's office, or maybe from Larry Jegley's office, because it may be resting with him now.
Okay, I have added it to my list of things for Mr. Poe.
Sorry, I know your list is getting a little too long.
That's okay.
But I didn't have anything else, but it's her fault because she brought it up,
Well,
and then I
Sorry.
remembered.
we are getting close to wrapping it up, though.
Yeah, I'm hungry.
You as well. Public comment. I did get an email forwarded to me today from Mr. Poe about specifically about absentee ballot drop boxes, plural.
Oh yeah, I saw that as well.
And this is from Mr. Maddox here in Little Rock. And here, I'll just go ahead and, I guess this might be public comment, might be why it was forwarded, but I'll go ahead and I'm going to call it public comment, move into that portion of our meeting. I'll read it from Mr. David Maddox. Can you please address the availability of absentee ballot drop boxes in Pulaski County and the September 30th Pulaski County Election Commission meeting? Sure, David. We're happy to do that. I will start out with saying and reiterate what was said earlier today is we can't change the rules in the middle of an election. And so we are in the middle of an election. We have in the runoff between our judicial candidates. They're nonpartisan judicial races. So even if there were, and there's a stack of precedent about that, where you cannot, even if we would have that as a law, as an option, as something that we could do in the future, and there's plus and minuses about that. I'm not going to get into that aspect of it right now, but we can't change rules in the middle of the game. And we're in the middle of election, so no, there are no drop boxes. So to quickly answer your question, that no, for the November election, there will be no absentee ballot drop boxes. Commissioner Starr, with your wide experience with absentee ballot and procedures, does our law even allow for something like that because of what we have to verify for absentee ballots?
No. Not currently. I mean, there would be there is a strict chain of command when it comes to absentees, which is a very good thing, honestly. It's, I mean, again, it shows that this process is being followed. You have all these different things going around the media right now, these, some scary things. And in Arkansas, we have some pretty good chain of custody, not chain of command, sorry, chain of custody of how, like a chain of custody evidence. Same thing, they're absentees, the way they're collected, the way they're logged, the way they're placed inside the box that's locked. The key is maintained here. We maintain ballots. We are the one that maintains the ballot. So we do not just leave those ballots sitting there, by the way. We go get those ballots often, especially during this type of election. If I recall correctly, it's almost a daily because it gets full pretty fast, and after probably twice daily during early voting this time. And then we bring them back. We have them secure. And then we give them back their empty box. So it is a process that is highly secure, has it's highly regulated, and it is statutorily required on where it is, as in it must be at the county clerk's office. So because of the way that wording is, there's a lot that would have to occur for that to change, and possibly an amendment,
And if
a
even if there was a change in
constitutional
the law,
amendment. So, right,
it could, even if there was a change in the law, we couldn't
we
enact
can't,
that change in the middle of an election.
we can't. So, I know people are just like, why don't you just do this and why don't you do that? And you just can't. So that is why.
And that's not a Republican issue or a Democrat issue. That's what the law is, and we can't deviate from the law in the middle of an election.
Right.
So we can't deviate from the law that we've already been following right in the middle of an
Right.
election.
And anything that
Madam Chair.
yeah,
Go ahead.
Sorry.
No, go ahead, Commissioner Starr. I'm sorry. Go ahead and
No,
finish
you
your.
go
Go ahead
ahead.
and finish
I'm
it.
done.
You go ahead.
Okay. No, I was going to say I agree with you completely. I've actually been asked this question, and I was actually on a panel with the clerk at the time when she was asked this question. And you're completely right. There's no law to account for that in the county or in the state. And like you said, even if there were, there's protocols that would have to be in place. I mean, like you said, the chain of command, the chain of custody. Where would these lock boxes be? Where who would pick them up? How would we ensure that they were safe and secure? So that's something we could work on in the future, maybe, but not during the middle of an election. And I also just want to remind folks, and what was it, Mr. Maddox? They can always take their absentee ballot to the clerk's office and deliver that in person, and that would be the option.
Yes, absolutely. Were there any other public comments, Commissioner Frost?
Yeah, I actually received 3.
Okay.
So the first one, the first 2 are actually just a comment, not a question. But somebody said that they were having issues with voter view showing their incorrect sample ballots. And that has since been corrected, but they just wanted to let folks know that was an issue. And I believe they had contacted the Secretary of State's office, and they had said that was something they were working on. So if anyone out there maybe looks up their ballot and it's wrong, maybe there's an issue there that it's being corrected, or it has been since corrected.
That's good to know.
Let the
Thank
Secretary
you.
of State's office know, because then they're the ones that can get that updated.
That's good to know. Thank you.
Good.
Someone else said that in regards to the First United Methodist Church in Maumelle and Jess Odom being across the street from one another, that they said there was I'm sorry, let me pull this back up. According to election law, there is a maximum number of voters that may be assigned per polling location.
Right.
So that
2013.
yeah, so that would be the reason was having 2 locations so close to each other. But as you said, Commissioner Starr, perhaps there's some other options.
That's Representative Collins did that, Bill.
Yep.
Charlie Collins. Charlie Collins.
Maybe
did
there's
that.
another option. Maybe there's another option besides the church that's not so close to kind of alleviate some of that confusion. And maybe that's something we could look at in the future. And then I had a question. If you have a concealed carry permit, are you allowed to bring your firearm to the polling location, or is that can be prohibited based on location? Like individual locations?
Well, off the
You know
cuff,
that-
I don't have a legal analysis for you ready off the cuff for that. I've heard several people debate a federal law about having a firearm in a polling
I'm
location.
pretty sure you can have a firearm in a polling location, but we will get back to you on that answer. We will confer with legal experts with much greater minds than ours and get back to you on that answer.
Okay.
And we will
So,
post
Amanda,
it to Twitter.
Can you add that to your list that you're keeping?
That's a great question, though.
It is.
Yeah, it is a
A
good
great
question.
Yeah, especially with the recent changes in laws regarding public buildings.
Mhm.
So I could see how that could get confusing as well. Because you have two different things where private can do what they want, public has a little bit different rules. So
Mhm.
That's all I
is there any
have.
other? Is there any
Did
questions?
you have anything else?
I have
Anything from you?
no public comment.
Okay.
Just
So
the
I-
meeting for tomorrow.
So I believe that concludes what was on the agenda. Now, when I got here today, there was a stack of stuff that was not on the agenda. I have here, looks like it says the Pulaski County COVID-19 protocol.
Yes,
I don't know, was it just FYI for us?
Commission, Madam Chair, that is something that I received from Human Resources, that all employees are to read over and sign, and it has to be turned back into HR.
Okay.
Commissioner
So
Price,
this is
I
for the
will,
commissioners individually.
yes. And
Okay.
Commissioner Price, I will email you yours.
Thank you,
Now-
Betty.
Could you email me mine too?
I sure
And I'll
will.
have it.
I
Like
sure
one where I
will.
can sign it and send it back to you.
Okay.
Okay.
Same.
Good deal. And
Now-
also I said FMLA leave, there's some changes or
That's just for your
COVID-19
information.
statement. That's just FYI.
That's just FYI. I was told to give you all a copy, but it's FYI.
I don't get it through. I do see a stack of reimbursements, Betty.
Yes.
Well, if you've been busy,
Do you?
I've got
A lot of
the
them.
March 3rd House District 34 special general election. And then the February 11th House District 34 special runoff primary election.
Yes. Now, Commissioner Price, I did not email this out because the file is too large.
Yeah,
So that's the reason
it's
why
really big.
they just have the stacks of paper. But I do have it on the share screen, so you'll be able to see it, Commissioner Price.
Thank you so much, Betty. Yeah,
So I suppose we need to
make a motion.
get reimbursed.
Yes.
Any discussion for the, or sorry, March 3rd, is that the first one you have up?
Yes, that is.
Did you want to take a look at any of this? Okay. Any discussion, comments?
Do we need a motion to approve this, or do we just need
Yes,
to?
please.
Yes, that's what I need so that I can get that turned into the state board.
Okay, so I move to approve the county reimbursement request for the March 3rd, 2020 House District 34 special general election.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. All right, so I will sign.
And you have, whoever's in the office has my permission to use my stamp.
Okay.
Thank you.
If you would like
Thank
to
you
sign.
so much.
Next, it's a little more hefty. The February 11th, 2020 House District 34 special runoff primary election. What made this so much more documentation on this? Remind me, what was, is it?
This is the February 11th one was the runoff.
Oh, that's,
The reason the
okay, so
March,
runoff, the primary. runoff.
Yes.
Not, the special election was the one individual race.
yes, that was the special
Gotcha, okay.
general that was held the same day as the primary.
Gotcha, that tracks.
Yes. Now I'm still working on the primary bill.
Okay, I was gonna ask, have you seen the primary yet? No, that's fine. Hey, Betty, you're making progress. I'm not happy with that. All right, any discussion for the February 11th, 2020 House District 34 special runoff primary election reimbursement? Commissioner Price, any questions, comments, discussions, concerns, additions, deletions?
No, not from me. I move to approve the county reimbursement request for the February 11th, 2020 House District 34 special runoff primary election.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Sign it. And we're done with the stack of paper that was in front of me for this evening. Our next, we're gonna have an emergency meeting tomorrow at 5:30. It's gonna be virtually only, due to constraints, for commissioners to be able to attend in person. We don't have enough time we have some prior obligations. So tomorrow, 5:30 p.m., virtual only, and our topics for anyone who wants to be involved here, with it, the polling location change orders, the polling location, and the approval of notice of election for the general, November 3rd general, and
And we'll do this,
preferential primary
then
runoff.
set the next meetings.
And we're gonna set the next meetings, and oh, that's right.
We have we can do that tomorrow. We have a list of it.
We do. Mr. Poe, I believe, sent the deadline for donation. Commissioner Price, I assume you got the email from Mr. Poe with the upcoming deadlines for various reasons to meet in the next month or two. We could discuss that right now, or we can do it tomorrow.
Tomorrow is fine with me.
Okay. So just look at those dates, get your calendars synced, so we can just knock those out and get it set, so we can have our meeting set up. We know what we're doing. Okay. Anything else for the good of the commission? Anything else before we conclude?
Just thank you to the staff.
Thank you to the staff. Jody's the only one. Oh, and we have staff.
Amanda.
Virtually. And Amanda and Betty.
And Betty.
And Bart's over there. too.
And Bart, I did see Bart. I saw Bart earlier, and I've been hearing
Sean.
Sean.
Yeah,
His
he's
voice carries. He's in that room next door.
Thank y'all.
All right.
Yes,
well,
thank you
then,
all.
If there's nothing further, this meeting will be adjourned until tomorrow at 5:30. We will be available virtually. So tune into our YouTube channel. We will be there. All right. Have a good night.
To our YouTube channel.
We're adjourned. Okay. Due to COVID, do we have to throw these pens away, or we can sanitize them?